Hello, I'm Bob Garvin. Welcome to Body Talk, episode 84. There's new information out about the dangers of antibacterial products. I'll give you the details in just a moment. And I'll tell you about a new health warning for people driving in rush hour traffic. My guest on today's program is licensed massage therapist and fitness expert Sandy Morvillo. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast, send an email to lifestarmedia@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out the Body Talk Facebook page, where you'll find behind-the-scenes stories, commentary, and you'll even hear some podcast outtakes. You can find the page on Facebook at Body Talk Bob Garvin. I've been warning people about the dangerous chemicals and antibacterial soaps and products for years, and now the FDA finally agrees. The agency is ordering companies to remove 19 chemicals from these products, and the FDA is looking at 4 other chemicals found in most antibacterial products to decide if they should also be banned. Concerns about the chemicals are based on data suggesting long-term exposure can pose health risks like bacterial resistance and hormonal effects. The FDA says that the 19 chemicals can no longer be used in over-the-counter antiseptic washes because of a lack of evidence that they actually work, that they pose a health risk, and that they're no better than plain soap and water. Now, don't rush out to buy this stuff anytime soon. The FDA has given companies 1 year to remove these chemicals. Now let's talk about massage with my special guest, licensed massage therapist and fitness expert, Sandy Morvillo. Sandy, welcome to Body Talk.
Glad to be here.
You know, a lot of people are worried about their body image, and they're just embarrassed to get on the table.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because I think that that's probably the biggest deterrent, right? Isn't that crazy that would be a deterrent? But I can see that and see why people are embarrassed. They think, am I going to get on this table? Especially someone I know. So am I going to get on this table, and is Sandy going to look at me and say, I see you naked or with just your underwear on the table? Like, it's a very intimidating thing, right? Because you're vulnerable on the table. I will say that if you've never had a massage before, most of the time you are covered by a sheet the entire time, except for the body part that the person is working on. So if you are a little bit on the shy side, or you're feeling intimidated, or feeling that that this is not a great, something that you would do all of the time, it's out of your comfort zone, just know that the therapist there understands that. We're not looking at you that way. It's really strange. People ask me all the time, how do you massage body stuff? You're not looking at the person lying on the table. You're looking at that piece of muscle that you're working on. So sort of, I always like to compare it to, like, if I'm a surgeon, like, how am I cutting open a person, or even working on cadaver, or working on somebody in surgery? It's because at that moment you're so channeled into what you're doing at that small specific piece on that person's body that I'm not thinking in my mind, oh my God, check out the cellulite on this gal. You know what I mean? You're not thinking about that. You're just not. And it's not, or look at this person's so weak, or they have no muscle tone, or whatever. You're just not. And any good therapist would say the same thing. If you asked me and said, how is my muscle tone, or how are my hamstrings, are they too tight, or are my gastrocs, not equal and balanced, whatever, then I could give you an assessment, because I would be looking for that specifically. But when we're doing a massage, we're not looking at you as someone that, should you be running, walking up and down the runway. It's not like that at all. This is a very professional way of looking at the body to try to make the body feel better by doing massage therapy.
So many people, when they think about massage, they get almost befuddled about it, because there are just so many different types of massage therapy out there. I want to look at what most people think of as Swedish massage.
Swedish massage would be your more gentle form of massage. There's movements called petrissage and effleurage, which are sort of long moving strokes and gentle movement of the muscle tissue that's closer to the surface. Sort of your feel-good massage. So when you go to a resort and you ask for a massage, usually that's what you're going to get. Just nice light, probably lots of super smells in the rooms and all these essence oils and things. And it still is beneficial, even though it's more on the surface. It's definitely beneficial because, one, the main thing is it's going to relax you, and that's what most of us need, right? So it's moving the muscle tissue around, getting circulation. It's moving the adrenals, which are really helpful in getting that lymphatic flow going. In my opinion, there's not one type of massage that's better or worse than other. It's just what fits you and your body and your lifestyle, what's actually the best for you.
Speaking of, relaxing, I think of this other type of massage which goes to the other end, and that's deep tissue massage.
Yes, that's my specialty.
Now tell me about and I tell you, I see people sometimes, they come back and they're bruised and they're in pain for some time. Tell me about deep tissue massage.
So deep tissue massage is, you're right, on the other end. And again, it's not that that's better or worse, it's just different. So you're working on a much deeper level. You're trying to actually take those adhesions of where the muscle and the tendons and the ligaments connect, and they get so tight from working out or the stresses of life, or if you're a new mom and you're holding a baby on the same arm all the time. That's a big one for a lot of people, surprisingly enough. I work with a lot of athletes, or ex-athletes as well. And so it's sort of moving those muscle tissues and tendons away from the bone, getting more blood flow through there, but with deeper movements on my part as a therapist, sometimes having to use forearms and elbows and fists as opposed to just using the hands to move through things gently. Now, I also will add some stretching in with that, some PNF stretching. So I might put you in a position and then say, apply your own pressure to that. So your neurons are actually sending a signal to your brain to relax. So as I push you against that and you're pushing back, when I let go of that and you let go of that, I can get into a deeper stretch and a deeper muscle tissue massage than I would if I just went right from the get-go, right in there to go and get a deep tissue.
The deep tissue massage, though, the effects are more profound, aren't they, than, say, a Swedish massage?
I think so. I definitely think so. And it's arguable, by different people who do different. But I think that structurally and mechanically, when you're doing a deep tissue massage, those benefits, for me anyway, even as someone who teaches fitness, they definitely are. I think it's more beneficial.
Some people just really are taken aback when they see bruising from this now, and they're saying, "Look, you look like you got beaten up. I'm not going to put myself through that." Now, do they always bruise?
No. Lots of times, bruise. It's the same thing when you get acupuncture or any other form of treatment. Sometimes it's your body's way of saying, you know what, I think this might be enough. But if I'm working on one area really for a long time with my elbows or my thumbs, which are very strong, you can create a little bit of bruising because you can break a few capillaries, or it's all very superficial. But the other side of it is tenfold in how the relief that you feel from getting all of that really tight muscles and getting your spine realigned and getting some blood flow through muscles that maybe haven't had it for weeks or months or years.
I've known folks that have come out of a massage like that feeling really sore for 24 hours and then feeling great after that.
And that's why it's important to drink a lot of fluids afterwards, to eat a clean diet, because then you're not pushing crap into those muscle tissues. You're eating really healthy foods and you're feeding that muscle. Just like when we exercise or we do anything, it's so important, the whole picture. It's not just one little facet. It's not one piece. It's the whole picture, and how does it all connect together? And how do we create this sort of wellness around each of us?
A lot of folks come to me and they say, well, I hear about trigger point therapy, and can a regular massage therapist do that? And what's trigger point therapy?
So trigger point therapy is basically just working on specific points of the body. In Eastern medicine, they think that their philosophy of how the body works, everything runs in a figure-8 flow, right? And so when you get sick or get injured it's that figure flow of the figure 8 flow gets stopped somewhere. And so the trigger points along the body, sort of like acupressure or acupuncture points, they coincide with different muscle groups and how the body works together. So when you go in and you hold a certain point on the body, you don't move around, you're not doing effleurage and petrissage, which I talked about before, which is smooth, longer strokes of the body or cross friction across the muscle. You're holding that point and sending a signal to the muscle, to the brain, for that muscle to relax and to release. If you have a huge knot in your neck and I'm holding my thumb on that for 30 seconds or a minute or more, it can be painful, but then that sense of release as well is wonderful. So if you think about the old-fashioned circuit breakers for the phone, right? I always have people, so how the operators had to pull out the circuits, and every once in a while you would get too many circuits on once, the whole circuit would break down because it got crisscrossed so much. That's where you would get like a trigger point in your body. That's that cross muscle, that overuse of that muscle. And by applying a pressure to that point, you can help it to relax.
It seems like that might help a lot with tension headaches. Where people get the tightness in the neck?
Yeah, people who suffer from migraines, trigger point therapy works very well for. People who maybe have a rheumatoid arthritis, and they're getting a lot of pain in their hands or in carpal tunnel, where you're actually working on very specific, smaller areas of the body.
Prenatal massage. Now, is this the sweetest massage to make a pregnant woman feel better, or is it something specific
not
to pregnancy?
Always, because I remember myself going, with both of my children, I got massaged all the way through my pregnancies, and it helped significantly because I taught all the way through. And I also did 2 natural childbirths with both of them. I had massage and acupuncture as opposed to having drugs and anything.
Wow.
The day of the birth. So it worked really well, and I think it can be just a godsend for pregnant women. I mean, what's better than getting your feet rubbed, right? I mean, especially when you're pregnant. There are points that you have to be careful of when you work on someone that's pregnant. You also, after a while, usually around 4 months or so, you would have them go to sideline, which means that they would lie on their side while you're doing the massage, as opposed to having them lie on their back, because that's not always healthy for the baby.
Geriatric massage.
It's so beneficial for especially the elderly population to get massage. I would recommend it to anyone, whether their age. I actually just had the gift, I guess I would call it a gift on my end, of going in. A friend of ours was very sick in the hospital and ultimately passed away. And I'm not a hospice massage therapist at all, but I was doing it as a favor for a friend. And it was really wonderful to be able to go in and to give someone that sense of peace, toward the end of their life, and to give them some relief from the pain that they were feeling, and maybe help them just for, even if it was, it was an hour that I went in, but even if 15 minutes they felt that sense of, wow, I know what it feels like to feel good, and I actually have a few friends who do hospice massage, and I think that that's also a wonderful gift to give people in the end of their life. And it's something I would recommend to people to look into if you have a loved one that's toward the end of their journey.
A lot of times people think of massage as it's just really a luxury, something that you only do on vacation, and otherwise you're being selfish or you're spoiling yourself. What would you say to these people?
It's a shame that we have that sort of connotation that goes along with it. I feel strongly that it's a necessity. And it's not just because that's what I do, just even personally for myself, I feel it's a necessity. I've given my children massages since they were born. They were a lot less, they never got colic or strep throat or ear infections. I feel like there's also that element of being touched, right? So there's so many people, and this goes back to the person that was in the hospital. When you get sick or when you get older, we have this sort of disconnect with people who, as they age or if someone is sick, that we feel very uncomfortable in our in the United States anyway. I think European countries are a little bit different, but in the United States we feel very uncomfortable touching people. It's almost like subconsciously we feel like you're going to catch that, or maybe you're going to hurt that person. And that's not true. It can be further from the truth. Those people are the ones who need that touch more than anything. And if we could just get over that, and I think if you go through your life getting a massage or getting some sort of body treatment where you're getting touched in a way it's physical, but it's not, it doesn't always have to be sexual, right? So that's sort of where we've been taught that's where touch is, right?
That's another topic altogether.
That's another topic, right? Well, it's for another day. Massage is one of those things that you can learn to touch people, and they can learn to receive people, and especially people who don't get that element at all anymore in their lives, especially elderly people. So I think, no, it's a necessity. I would definitely argue that it was more of a necessity than a luxury, and for people to change that mindset into thinking it as of the same way you would going for a doctor's appointment a yearly checkup. Think of it in the same way, or taking your vitamins every day, thinking of it in the same way as your wellness, creating a better quality of life for yourself for the long run.
If somebody is sick, have a cold virus or flu or something, and they have a massage scheduled, should they go ahead with that massage, or will it make the sickness worse?
Well, first of all, I always appreciate it when someone calls or emails me and says, I've got this cold. What do you think? Obviously, you're lying face down, so if you're dripping all over the place, that might not be comfortable. What I always tell people is, if you have a fever, it's probably not a good idea for you to come in for a massage, because their body's already working overtime to get rid of that sickness. If you don't have a fever and you just have a cold, or you're feeling like, I'm on the verge of getting sick, then I think it's a great idea, because then you're sort of moving it through the body a little quicker. I will warn people that sometimes the next day the cold comes on stronger and more quickly, but then it's usually flushed out of your body a lot faster too. The benefits of massage are just fantastic, and I think that more people, I think it should be part of our healthcare system, so people can go and get a massage and not spend the money and think that it's a luxury. It's the same with chiropractic and any other treatment that we do for preventative care, because why not put the money into prevention as opposed to later on once people already get sick or injured or hurt. I just think a massage is a wonderful thing to add to your life.
Sandy, it's always a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today on Body Talk. Finally, sitting in traffic jams is officially bad for your health. A new study reveals that pollution levels inside of cars is 40% higher while in traffic jams or at a red light compared to free-flowing traffic conditions. Pedestrians were also found to be exposed to increased air pollution around traffic lights. The World Health Organization says that outdoor air pollution kills 7 million people a year and is one of our top health risks. Study authors say that drivers should close windows and turn off fans while sitting in heavy traffic to avoid breathing in dangerously high levels of air pollution. The study was published in the Royal Society of Chemistry's journal. Well, that's it for this edition of Body Talk. My producer is Katie Stell. The Body Talk theme song was composed by Rob Carlson and sung by Vicky Vox. If you'd like to stay up with medical studies on a daily basis, follow me on Twitter at BGPVideo. And if you have any questions or comments about this program, feel free to send me an email at lifestarmedia@gmail.com. Body Talk is a production of Lifestar Media.